are living in Carrboro, and what inspired you to run for Board of Aldermen?
Honestly, my children inspired me. I have a 5-year-old boy, a 3.5-year-old, and a 1.5-year-old boy, Thomas, William, and James. And they're going to grow up in Carrboro. The decisions that are being made are going to affect them for the next, better part of their lives. And I just want to make sure that I was a part of those decisions in some form or fashion. When the election, when it came time to sign up for the election, I saw that as a great opportunity to get involved. I always tell my kids, the best way to make an impact is to get involved. Get out in the community, get out and do whatever you can for somebody. Help as many people as you can.
Wow, well, that's a message that we have been tossing out there for quite some time. Nice to hear it validated. So it's just trying to be participatory and get involved in your community. Fair enough. Tell us about Carrboro. What are some of the big issues that you would like to tackle if you are elected to the board?
Right. So another kind of thing that popped up when I started to look into it is currently all the Board of Aldermen, except for one, live within a mile of Town Hall. So they all live downtown, which is, there's nothing wrong with that, but you start to see a kind of a concentration of resources. I'd like to see kind of a more, I'd like to see the resources dispersed throughout the community. I think that as Carrboro, we have a good tax base. It could be better, obviously, but we could help out communities that might not even, take resources out north, where there are communities that might not be in the town of Carrboro, but could benefit from our resources. And then also the neighborhoods that are out a little farther away from downtown that, it could also alleviate traffic if we, have some resources out in that direction, or even on the south side of 54. I think that those decisions that are being made for the downtown area are great and productive, but it'd be nice to see some, like I said, disbursement of that.
Do you live outside the 1 mile radius?
Yeah, I do. I live heading down Old 86, right near the Hogan family farm.
Right.
The home of Ramsey's. We went and visited him yesterday before his loss, so he was still in a good mood when we saw him. But but yeah, so we live out that way, and it's the thing about that area is a lot of the neighborhoods have a lot of their own resources, like playgrounds and whatnot, but sometimes that isolates people. They stick to their area, so it'd be nice to have a place where everybody can come, things like that.
So representation from someplace outside the core downtown district. We have that issue crop up here as well. Most of the commissioners here in town are historic district residents. Mm-hmm. So, okay. Are you getting traction? How's the campaign going? Are you knocking on doors out in the hinterlands, the edges of town?
I am. I'm trying to get out as much as I can. I reach out to a lot of the HOAs, the PTAs, the social groups. I've been to some of the fire departments out, the outside fire department, the arena center, which I know is not in Carrboro, but I think again, it's just a community that deserves a voice in the decisions that are going to impact them just based on proximity. And so a lot of people, they like the fact to hear that somebody is running from that area. There's been, I think my biggest task, my most difficult task is going to be exactly what you were just talking about, and that's getting people to go vote. The people that the families and the neighborhoods that I'm speaking to typically, are 2-income households with kids, busy. They're in their neighborhood where they feel like there's as long as the decisions that are being made for their neighborhood are functional, then they're good with that. So it's going to be more difficult to get them, like I said, to motivate them to go to the polls. Like you said, voter rating is usually low. In Carrboro, historically, just like everywhere else, it's between 6 to 8% when there's not a presidential election. And when there is a presidential, it's between like 8 and, if you're lucky, 12. Yeah. So with the population of Carrboro, that's a low number. So that's going to be my biggest task, I think, is just motivating people to get to the polls, trying to talk to as many people as I can.
Well, it seems like, there isn't a whole lot of disagreement among the candidates as to what direction to go. I mean, people generally think that things are moving in the right direction. So you're being someone who is representing a different group of folks, simply geographically might be a calling card for you.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, I want to see, I want to maintain the parks. I want to make sure the trails stay in good condition. I want to work with the police, the fire, and EMS to make sure the town is safe and welcoming at the same time. I'd like to see more inclusionary, affordable housing. I think that the Community Home Trust has a great concept. I think that and they're working towards kind of move to the next level of renting, which I think is the next step for them, which is a great idea. So yeah, I mean, I have, I don't think that I don't have, again, my main goal originally was to make sure that I didn't come in with any agendas. I wanted to be a blank slate, clear, so that I could literally go and speak to the community and take what they said and take that to the board. That's what I do that's what I do as a community resource officer. I originally, when I came on in law enforcement, you have this different concept of what law enforcement is, and when you start talking to the community, you find out that they want better lit streets, and they want good parking, and they want safe parks for their kids. It's those types of things in life that you have to go out and you have to speak to community and actually find out. You can't just assume what everybody wants based on your own personal agendas. And so I'm trying to stay as open as possible. I don't want to bring anything. Anytime a topic comes up, the first thing I do is I take it to the community. I don't put my own twist on it. I go straight to them and I ask, surrounding neighborhoods, organizations, associations, how do you feel about this? And then I'll let them tell me what the type of things that they want to hear the town board hear.
Well, you have a mix of people who have different priorities. I think everybody's in favor of parks. Everybody's in favor of affordable housing. Everybody would love a new library. Everybody wants more parking, right? It's a question of what are the priorities here. And I think push in some ways, in many ways actually, in our local municipalities has come to shove. There's a limited amount of money available, and there are more needs out there than the existing resources can pay for.
Right.
So wondering among all those things if there are things that are at the top of your priority list, because you're going to find people who say we absolutely have to focus on affordable housing. You'll find other people who say we've got to have this library. We've got to figure out what to do with the Arts Center. We've got to figure out how to preserve the Cat's Cradle because they want to move them out. That has been an economic driver for so many years. We have to do all these different things. So what is your, or at least early take? You may not have had time to digest all the numbers, crunch the numbers, but just what's your sense of that?
Yeah, so you're right. I think the consensus across the board is that, most people want to see this type of development, this type of progressive movement. But I think what I would like to see is, one, again, a disbursement of those resources. Not everything has to be downtown. We can start spreading out to the borders of Carrboro. And also, the way that these things are accomplished. Yes, do we want to see, a library downtown, or yes, do we want to see better parking or less parking downtown? That's most people do, but we should have board members who go out and speak to the community, so that even if everybody's got the same opinion or the same idea, at least they feel like they're a part of the decision making. And that's something I'm used to doing. I'm used to going out and speaking to the community, and I'm used to going and just and being and listening and being an active listener to those communities.
Would that be something you would say maybe isn't quite happening as proactively as it should?
From the boards, from the community I've spoken to and the associations I've spoken to, I haven't met one yet who has said that somebody from the board has come to their meetings. Just to, if nothing else, come out and say hi, come out and, find out what's going on in their communities. So I do think that there are communities that are being left out of the decision making.
Okay.
And I would like to be that. I would like to be that bridge to bridge those gaps.
Now, have you had a chance to, you're obviously not a member of the board. Have you gone to some board meetings?
Yep. Yeah, and you can go online and review a lot of you can also watch the videos from the past.
Right. So have you had a chance to look at at previous budgets, and then in these discussions, something's got to give. It's kind of a zero-sum game. If you throw a few million here, you may have to defer, probably not cut, but I would certainly say defer action on some other things there. Have you had a chance to look at some budgets, and would you have a sense, for example, with a library or with a parking deck or with money toward affordable housing, what would be the more immediate need in your view at this time, and what would be something that could be deferred, like a park, for example, or an improvement, recreational improvement?
Right. Well, so I think if handled properly, you could, if you go out and you get federal grants and you do fundraisers, you do requests for, like the way the Community Home Trust, they get partnerships. There are ways to get all these things done and improve your budget, but you have to think kind of outside the box. Something I do regularly, is look for possible grants that we can get. When I wasn't a part of the grant seeking process, but I learned a lot from it when I was a few years back. I was part of the Becoming program in Durham, which was a federally funded, a $7 million grant to help 16 to 21-year-olds with mental health issues. And it was a learning experience for me, that because as a department we wanted to do something that was more CIT, crisis intervention concentrated, but we didn't have the resources, so we went out and got the resources. And I think if you put the effort in, you can accomplish all the goals with just using some creative methods.
So you can do it all. That's, if we were, I appreciate that perspective,
Yeah.
and that's a very positive point of view, and you kind of have to go into it with that. On the other hand, everybody in every municipality is looking at the same constraints right now. Look at the schools situation, clearly in Wake County, in Durham in particular, less so in Orange. They have had to make some very difficult decisions because it's crunch time. The budgets simply don't allow for meeting everyone's needs. And the town staff, I presume, is tapped into all these grant possibilities and everything else. So I'm still trying to get a sense, because no one wants to say, look, realistically, we may not be able to do it all right now. It's all on the agenda, but something's going to have to be backburnered.
Right.
Are you willing to suggest at this point anything that might rise, in your view, to the top of the needs list, and something that might be deferrable?
I don't think so. I think, and something I try to teach my kids and something I try to do in life is I try to put everything I have into something I'm doing. So if the community wants, if there are different parts of the community where something is at the top of their list, if there's something at everybody's different top of the list, then I'm going to do everything I can to help them accomplish that goal. I think just putting the effort in is the key. And if you you don't have to put all your effort into one thing and ignore everything else. If you do proper time management and you have the correct people around you who can help you with these items, then I think you can attempt to accomplish all these things at once. I don't think that's unreasonable. We're not that big of a town, so I don't think that, it's not like we're dealing with, 40 square miles worth of projects going on. We're only like 6 miles long. So, I don't think it's unreasonable to think that we could get enough people involved and get the community involved and get them a part of these goals that we want to have accomplished. Because right now, now if you only stick to the 6 people on the board and the mayor, it's going to be very tough. But if you get the community involved and you get them behind these decision making, behind these goals that you want to accomplish, then that's how you accomplish these goals.
Paul Clark, candidate for Carrboro Board of Aldermen. He is our guest this morning in our candidate interview and spin-off sessions. Let's see. There was that big project at the corner of 54 and was it Old Fayetteville, and one of the largest undeveloped tracts. I can't remember what that was called.
It's the Lloyd Farm. The
Lloyd Farm property, yes. That was ultimately not approved as proposed, and yet a lot of folks said, hey, there's commercial development there. We need more of that in our balance between residential and commercial. And that would have paid for some of these things. On the other hand, others said, look, that's one of the last key areas still remaining in town. We need to be very careful with what we do with that. It's a gateway, essentially. You got a position on that?
Yeah, so clearly that's a prime real estate. One thing I will say, it's owned by the Lloyd family, and inevitably, it's been in their family. I think they deserve to choose what to do with their property. I do think that as a board, it's our duty, or as a community, even if you're not on the board, I think as a community, it's your duty to bring your questions and concerns to that family so that they can make the best decision with what to do with that property. I get it. They're ready to sell it. They're ready to they're ready to move with that property. But I think that they're being open to the ideas of the community. Inevitably, it's their property. I don't think we should be telling them what to do with it, but I do think that it's our job to get them as much information from the community as we can.
Well, you did that. I mean, the board did that, but then ultimately had to either give them a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Mm-hmm. Do you feel the decision to go thumbs down was the correct one?
So from what I understand, the reason they went thumbs down was concern of the community around that property, primarily because they're having issues with flooding. And so I think that in an effort to protect that community, I think you do have to say, look, we need to find a better solution. They're not stopping them from doing the development. They're just saying we need to work together to find a good solution, because you have to think about the community around the project that is gonna impact them. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think they made a good decision there to just say they didn't shut them down completely. They didn't say don't ever come to us with this again. They said, look, let's work together and let's make this beneficial for everyone.
Okay, Paul Clark. Any closing remarks you'd like to make? I really want to thank you for coming all the way over this morning from Carrboro to join us, or from Durham. I guess you're on your way to Durham, maybe? Is that...
No, not yet.
Yeah, okay. Well, thanks for taking the time, regardless. We really appreciate you coming on. And again, anything you'd like to say in closing?
I just reiterate what you said. Just remind everybody that it's your duty to get out and vote. You know, if you want to see change, if you want to see representation in our local government, then it takes going out and voting.
Okay. Well, we're going to leave you now with the second selection. First of all, though, before you hit play on that unit there, why did you pick "We Will Rock You" by Queen?
So yeah. It was, my kids love it. I think they love the clapping and the stomping. But I was thinking, I was like, I had to pick songs, and I was like, if I pick the wrong one, it's going to be skewed. But it's a classic, vote song. We Will Rock the Vote. So I thought it would fit well. Okay. And then they had originally picked. I was going to let them pick the second song, which they were going to go with the Imperial March. But I was like, that's a little dark for the morning. They've never seen the movie; they just like the song. And I love John Williams. I think he's a great composer. But so in keeping with light of the Carrboro Music Festival, actually we have a friend who sang last night at the Cat's Cradle. She's singing with the Carburetors now, and so I trumped his second decision and went with my own. So,
okay, local. You went local.
We got to go local. I'm a big local fan. I wrote 2 local children's books that support, support local exploration. Tell kids to get out in your local community, and it's something I try to.
So you're an author of 2 children's books.
Yep. I published 2 children's books. They're one is Nibbles the Squirrel Explores Chapel Hill, and Nibbles the Squirrel Explores Durham is the other one.
What about Nibbles Exploring
I'm working on
Hillsborough?
I'm working on Carrboro and Hillsborough right now. I'm a little busy, Bob. But yeah, I'm working on it. But yeah, it's a theme that I've always, tried to encourage, is local exploration. So I figure local music's the way to go.
Thank you so much, Paul Clark. Let's hear that tune.